Ladies and gentlemen, it's the CBSI BOLO Show! Now sit back and relax as Brian and Jack recap the first appearances, reader buzz, and hottest variants in comic books releasing each and every week. Coming to you from an unidentified command center, here's your host, Brian Wood!
What's going on, guys? It is Thursday night, so that means it is the CBSI BOLO Show. Got a great show for you. We took a week break. I was on vacation. Co-host Jack was at Heroes Con, and with me tonight is my co-host Jack, aka Mr. Bolo. How's it going, Jack?
I always say Thursday night, the Bolo Show is the highlight of my week. Very excited to be back. It was hard to go a week without an episode, so definitely ready to get back on track.
Right. So we got people in the chat right now. Let us know. Audio, video. As it always, live is a different beast altogether. So if you hear audio issues or video issues, let us know and try to get those fixed. Yeah, I was away on vacation. I was down in Tampa visiting family. If anyone follows me on Instagram, Simpleman's Comics on Instagram, you probably saw some vacation pics instead of comic pics, but I put some of those up there. And then, Jack, you had Heroes Con, right?
Yes, we did Heroes Con last weekend. It was an absolutely incredible time. Got a lot of content, made a lot of contacts, and was really excited to kind of learn the impact that the Simpleman's Comics YouTube channel is beginning to have on the comics industry, specifically the independent comics industry. So, again, we appreciate Simpleman's Comics family, everybody that's in the chat, because you guys have made the channel and the show what it is. But yeah, we're starting to make a mark. We're starting to make a dent, and it's only the beginning. And it really has me hyped up for when Brian and I are in the building in Baltimore and really see what we can do as a unit.
Right. So Heroes Con, and then back to work for me. So busy week getting back into work. What about you? How's your week been?
Well, we like to say something on this channel. We call it Simpleman's Comic Family. And family is a word that I know both Brian and I take very, very seriously. And Brian and I have had some discussions about how to go about integrating kind of our personal lives. And I think that at this point, I need to be honest with everybody in my Simpleman's Comics family and let you guys know that I'm going through a really tough time right now. I'm going to ask everybody to bear with me as I try to kind of get through this. But some of you who may follow me on Facebook may have seen on my Facebook page some posts. Some of you who may be CBSI members and who have known me for a long time may know my father has multiple myeloma cancer, and it is a blood cancer. It's a terminal cancer. It is not a good form of cancer. I mean, not that there is a good one, but it really has an effect on you. And I moved in with my father several years ago to take care of him. From that moment, my life has drastically changed. I have two young children, and also trying to balance that with taking care of a father who's sick. My father has been a fighter for the last several years. He has made multiple trips to the hospital. When you have a loved one who has cancer like this, as many of you, I'm sure, have unfortunately had to experience, you make frequent trips to the hospital. Going to the hospital sort of becomes a part of life. And last week, my father, during a checkup, found out that he had some low potassium levels. And the doctors wanted to bring him into the hospital and to kind of check and see where he was at. Over that process, things got worse. He started running a temperature. It ran up to 104 degrees. And his kidneys have shut down now. He's bleeding and losing a lot of blood. And we have been told by doctors that he has 24 hours to 1 week left. And I've been coming on the mic for the last several weeks. I've done shows, and I've really tried hard not to let you guys see what I've gone through. There have been some shows that I've done. I did a couple Indie Spotlight Series shows where some events had just taken place. And, sometimes I feel like I'm almost being dishonest. And I don't, and you don't want to cheat the community, but obviously family comes first. It's very important for me to be here and to do this because my father was very proud, is very proud of everything that we've been able to accomplish on this channel. And as you can see in the pictures, a very huge supporter of CBSI. Loved what we were doing. The picture of me, him, and that's my brother Mark, who did all the filming for us at Heroes Con. So shout out to my brother Mark. At North Carolina Comic Con, he enjoyed getting to watch me work. He got to watch me interact with Rob Liefeld and Kevin Eastman and things like that. And he's been very proud and a very big supporter of this channel. So this has been an extremely trying time of my entire family. Obviously, going through the process of losing a father is tough. Cancer affects you so much more than just your body. The process has stripped him financially. So, we've had to deal with that. And, as kind of a young father running my own family, that's been difficult. The whole process has been extremely trying. And it's been the type of thing where my family's had to really come together and support each other, which is a blessing, but at the worst of times. And like I said, we talk a lot on this channel about Simpleman's Comics family, and I truly mean that. Like, there were days, guys, and I really want to say this to you, where I was miserable prior to getting on this mic and talking comics with you guys. And today has been one of the toughest days in my entire life. And at the same point, I'm extremely happy to be here and talking about comics again with you guys. And I just want to say, whether you realize it or not, I appreciate every one of you. I appreciate this channel. Brian, I appreciate you, as I've told you so many times, probably more than you could ever imagine. And I just want to dedicate this show to my dad. I want to say, Bruce, Dad, I love you. Thank you. And I want to do everything that Brian and I have talked about with this channel and with Simpleman's Comics and CBSI, because I know my father was so invested in seeing that happen. And I'm sorry for being long-winded. It's very hard to plan what to say in this situation. But before we get into comics and everything, I wanted to make sure that I kind of let you guys know where my head is at. So if you see me and I'm struggling or I feel spacey, it's not that I'm not trying to give you guys my all. It's just that right now I'm just running. I'm running on empty, and I'm doing the best I can. And again, thank you guys for everything. And those of you that have been aware, thank you for the support. I appreciate it. And I know my father appreciates it. And so, yeah, again, I want to say, I dedicate this to my father and this show. And for me, every show going forward, it's all about trying to accomplish those goals and do what we set out to do. And yeah. And if anybody's ever had to go through this with their parents with cancer, I know so many of you have, or loved ones, you know what it's like. And I feel for each and every one of you.
Right. So, yeah. I don't even know what to say, because Jack and I have been talking about it for a while, and just hearing it from him, gone through similar experience, so been there as well. And we wanted to do it up front and early, get it out of the, so we could try to recover and talk about it. And then we debated whether to even talk about it or not. But
right.
I think to honor his father was a good thing to do. So prayers go out to him. And sorry to start off on a bad note, but
yeah. Sorry to be the
it's not
downer
bad
on the
note,
Thursday night.
You know what I mean. But we're
Yeah.
So yeah, Jack, all of Simpleman's family is with you, and we support you. And I mean, heck, you know me, man. I'll put you on my back, and we'll carry you across the goal line together. So definitely. So not to
Mike Allstott style, brother.
Yeah.
I love you.
But Yeah. So not to like completely change it, but we kind of are. We're gonna get right into it now. One thing, as always, this show does have a sponsor, and it's sponsored by Nick Dwortman at SlabbedHeroes.com. So if you're looking for modern comics, guarantee 98, make sure you check out Nick's website at SlabbedHeroes.com. Also, I don't know if you're ready to talk about this, Jack, but we got a pretty big CBSI announcement tonight, right?
Yes, talk about something that is a much more exciting piece of news. So very, very ready to talk about that.
Right, and it just went live right when this show went live. As always, we like to break those CBSI exclusive announcements to you first. So I'm just going to bring it up here on the screen right now, and then, Jack, I'm going to let you run with it, all right?
All right.
So here we go. We have a Knights of the Golden Sun #1 exclusive CBSI Virgin variant. It's the Virgin variant of the CBSI exclusive we had before, correct, Jack?
Correct. So again, this is a book we released several months ago. It was the debut comic of CBSI Comics, our new comic imprint for comicbookinvest.com. Available at comicbookinvest.com. Hit that variant tab. And if you remember, Knights of the Golden Sun #1, we released in the same way. We released it right here on the Simpleman's Comics YouTube channel. We made it available to you guys first, and that's something we want to do. You guys are the most loyal members of our community here every week, and we appreciate that. We want to look out for you guys and give you guys that first crack. And the first book was limited to 250 copies. We put 200 on the market, 150 on the market. Then the rest were for promotion and comps for writers and things like that. And the book sold out, and it is currently sitting between $40 and $65 on the secondary market. It has been the most successful cover for Knights of the Golden Sun #1, which is the most successful book for Mad Cave Studios. And, we were kind of kicking around an idea of something we wanted to do to create a limited collectible. And, we've talked about not doing virgin covers that just kill the trade dress cover. So we didn't want to do that. So what we did right here is we created a real unique limited collectible. There is only a 100 copy print run on this book. And out of that 100 copies, only 80 copies are available to the public. The rest will be used for promo and giveaways, etc. So as of right now, this book is live. And again, only 80 copies available to the public. Now, the price is a little different. It's $33. That's whenever you do a real limited print run, you tend to have to incur some increased expense. But as we said, the value for this book is there because the trade dress version is going for $40 to $65. That's a print run of 250. Here you have that print run of 100. And this is really to celebrate Knights of the Golden Sun that just wrapped up issue #7, just wrapped up that first arc. We really want to say shout out to Mark London, shout out to Oscar Villarreal, shout out to PR department, Chris Sanchez, and everybody involved in Mad Cave who really hit a home run with Knights of the Golden Sun. So this is really our way to celebrate and our way to really show some appreciation to our customers who bought this book up. Our debut book as a sellout was really huge for us. So we wanted to offer you guys a limited collectible. Like we said, only 80 copies available on the market. And it's going to come the same way. You know how, at this point, how CBSI, how we do comics. So we're talking Mylar bags. We're talking numbered stickers. We're talking donation to charity with every purchase. We're talking your price, including shipping. And all of that is coming to you, again, directly from comicbookinvest.com. Hit that variant tab. And it's available right now. First come, first serve, and first to you guys at Simpleman's Comics YouTube channel, because we haven't even put it on Instagram. We haven't put it on Facebook. We haven't put it anywhere yet. This is the first anyone's hearing of it outside Brian and I and the owners of CBSI.
Right. So, yes, it's available right now at comicbookinvest.com. And I don't think I need to say anything else. Jack said everything. But I want to know also, this is just a question from me on Simpleman's Comics. We had the regular trade dress. We have this exclusive limited Virgin variant. Which cover do you prefer? Like, if we were to do more of these going forward, do you like the Virgin variants? Do you like the trade dress? Put it in the chat, and if you're watching on the replay also, make sure you put it in the comment, because we love to hear, especially as we do future variants down the road. And Ben sees in the chat right now as well, so I'm sure he values the input as well. And if you're not sure, Ben C is the one that owns comicbookinvest.com, and he's the one that helps make this possible, so kudos to him as well. But in addition to that comicbookinvest.com, we've announced the past couple shows now that we have on my Patreon the BOLO Box, right? 2 tiers.
Yes.
We have a regular BOLO Box, and then we have a premium BOLO Box. Same thing, it's a monthly subscription box, but you're supporting Patreon, you're supporting this channel, you're supporting this show, you're supporting everything. All the money goes right back into either the BOLO Box or production on this show as well. We had limited the premium BOLO Box to 5 spots, sold out, so it's now open. There's still limited spots left on both the premium and the regular. The premium is $35 a month, cancel anytime, and the regular is $20 a month, and that's at patreon.com, Simpleman's Comics, and we have a bunch of great books coming into that. I'm telling you guys, I'm not sitting here just trying to sell it. I believe I should put in the box what I would like to do. If I was to purchase a mystery box or a subscription box from someone, these are the type of books that I put in it, and we have some pretty darn good books. And so if you're interested in that, make sure you go to patreon.com and /Simpleman's Comics. Or if you just want to support the channel, you can support the channel for as low as $1 a month, $5 to $10. There's different benefits, different tiers. It's all at patreon.com /Simpleman's Comics. But
right, and we want you guys to understand this isn't just a box of back issues, and again, not a slight on anyone. There's several mystery boxes out there on the market. That's not a slight on any of them. They all have their value and they all have their purpose. This, for us, Brian said, is a fundraising tool for the channel to continue to develop the channel. But these books are going to be, they're going to be new books, new releases, books you're seeing on the BOLO show, books you're seeing highlighted on the Indie Spotlight series show, as well as exclusive variants from a lot of our partners and contributors that we're working with. We worked on getting some signed stuff for you guys over at Heroes Con. We're going to continue to do that. We want to offer some real unique stuff. And we want to give you guys, like Brian said, a chance to get some like unique collectibles. And we constantly hear on the BOLO show talking about different books that were hot. There's certainly a couple this week that I know some of you guys can relate to, where people missed out on a book. They missed out on this book or they missed out on that book. And we want to try to help out in that cause. And this is kind of a tool to do that. And guys, when you guys get your BOLO boxes, we want to see them on social media. We want you guys to share them. We want to know how you like them, how you feel about them, so we can adjust and do the things that we need to do, and just know if we're on the right track.
Right. And the first, I had a subscription box on my Patreon for the longest time. We kind of rebranded it BOLO Box, then we added a better tier, just because the better tier, if we're putting better books in, still need cost of shipping and all that good stuff. I'm not going to bleed you dry by filling your ear full of that, but definitely the first of these will be going out. I'm actually shipping them tomorrow. So if you're a current Patreon and you subscribe to the BOLO Box right now, those will be going out tomorrow as well. I was kind of waiting on comics from this week to come in case I needed to add them in there. But definitely. And like you said, put it on social media and let's go. We'll hashtag it BOLO Box. Share it. And who knows, maybe we'll pick someone from those hashtags to win a free BOLO Box. Speaking of which, we announced it last time that we were going to give away a BOLO Box on this show. So we're going to do that, and we're going to announce how to get that free giveaway or win that giveaway towards the end of the show tonight. So stay tuned for that, because we're going to get right into the meat and potatoes, and that is the actual BOLO list for this week, right?
We'll get it eventually.
Yeah, I can't edit these, but so for those that aren't familiar, CBSI BOLO list. BOLO stands for Be on the Lookout. So every week we have a CBSI Be on the Lookout list that covers first appearances, reader buzz, and variant buzz. And then Jack also offers a long-term play, which we got a little bonus at the end of this one tonight, where Jack's going to offer a double long-term play. Right, Jack?
Yeah, I couldn't stick to one. And let me tell you something, I almost had 3. I had to really scale myself back and say, you know what, we'll do 2 this week.
Yeah, just buy every book on the shelf. It's a long-term play. But
this week, Brian knows this. This is the week I've been waiting for 3 months. I've been talking about this week for months. If I had my way, we would have done exclusive variants for half of this week, because I love this week. This is a great week for comics, and a week that flew under people's radar. And not you guys, if you've been watching the Simpleman's Comics YouTube channel, you knew about some of these books.
Right. Yeah, especially one we'll get into it, one that's got some buzz going around it.
Yes.
So we're going to start off right with the first appearances for this week, right? So we got some Power Rangers, some Ghostbuster Transformer crossover, some Spider-Man, some Marvel Presents, and some Thor, right?
Right. And you know what? I think there's some first appearances developing in the market. I think there maybe end up being some other books. Again, I know people try to give me a hard time about that, but it's difficult. We're trying to give you a snapshot of the market on Tuesday night, and that a lot of times involves not being able to preview every book and things like that. So, there's always going to be a few first appearances we may miss, but the BOLO list did give you a few tip-offs to some first appearances that could have made you some money in the short term already.
Right. And real quick, before we get into the first appearances, we got more people on to the chat. Comic Cats, just a little podcast, Preaching Comics. There's some new names I haven't seen before. Carolina Chris is also in here. He's not one of those new names. He's always in here. Same with Comic Andy. Also, as always, if you're in the chat and you have a YouTube channel as well, make sure you put your channel name in the chat so everyone in there can see it and check out your content as well, because it's all one big community. And speaking of that, just a little podcast, I want to give them a shout out. If you check out their podcast, which you should, it's a great podcast, especially if you love movies and pop culture, not just comics, but they're also getting ready to start selling t-shirts. He let me know, and I need to respond to him, because yes, I am going to want a t-shirt from them. But moving right into the first appearances this week, we have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 40.
Right. So this book, I think, had some kind of misinformation put out about it. And when we talked with Arun Singh, of course, from Boom Studios on the Indie Spotlight series shows, we talked heavily about this upcoming this arc, Necessary Evil. It's the follow-up to Shattered Grid, which of course came out last year. But so the kind of, I think everyone saw the cover art, and we're going to talk about this book later, so I'm not going to get too deep into the book. We're just going to talk about the first appearance. The cover art made everyone believe that this is the first appearance of a White Ranger or a new White Ranger. That's not the case. This is the return of the White Ranger, without a doubt. But there is a new Power Ranger team in this book. And again, when you're kicking off a major arc that a publisher is telling you is going to be their big arc of the year, their big marketing push, San Diego Comic-Con variants behind it, their whole San Diego Comic-Con marketing is behind it. Yes, it's early to tell. I read the issue. I'm intrigued. But, it's early to tell. So we always tell you on the Simpleman's Comics channel, I know you guys, if you guys have watched on a regular basis, you've heard me say follow the money. When you have the head of marketing on a YouTube channel saying that, we're behind this, this is going to be a big deal, and you don't follow suit, you may be making a mistake. So this team, and I know I'm not the biggest team guy. I certainly have down-talked team first appearances plenty of times on this channel. But it's a little different when we're talking about Power Rangers. I've also explained to you guys, Power Rangers is rebranding. They've got the Hasbro thing going, changing over from Saban. Also trying to create a world that's maybe a little less juvenile. So I'm very bullish on Power Rangers, and I think Power Rangers 40 is a major book to grab. And I think the team first appearance is just part of the reason why.
Right. So we're bringing it back up here real quick. And then the next one in the first appearances this week, we have, keeping with childhood memories, nostalgia, we had the Transformers Ghostbusters crossover number 1, right, with a new character.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about this one. I know we've got this one I think on Reader Buzz and on Variant Buzz.
And you got to talk about the toys.
Yes. So we'll just get into this one right now. This is one of the books that Brian and I were talking about 3 months ago. This is one of the books where he and I were messaging back and forth with each other. He and I are 80s, 90s guys, so it's like this stuff is cool for us. And again, because it's cool for us, we know there's other people our age that are going to feel like this is also cool for them. And what you have here is you don't just have some, we've seen crossovers from IDW, right? We've seen Batman and Max. We've seen, all kinds of ones with between DC, TMNT, and Ninja Turtles. But what separates this one, very similar to what we've seen with the most recent Batman TMNT Volume 3, is a first appearance. And we have a first appearance of the Ecto-1, the famous Ghostbusters cruiser, their car, their hearse that they drive around, as a Transformer, Ectotron. And at first kind of, hearing of that, you may find that silly. But here's the thing that you got to realize, guys, that, again, follow the money. There's toys behind this, as Brian was alluding to. There has been a pre-order out. I know Brian and I both jumped on an immediate GameStop pre-order as soon as we saw this. It was like $49.99 for a vintage kind of G1 box of Transformers with this new character. I think it's going to be a home run with people of a certain era. Also, we have some CBSI members who are involved in the Hollywood game, and we know that Sony has major plans for Ghostbusters, as evidenced by today the announcement that Paul Rudd has joined the cast of Ghostbusters and will head up the presumably the new Ghostbusters team. So
we gotta have Ant-Man and Ghostbusters.
Right. So and actually, young Captain Marvel, the young girl who played the younger version of Captain Marvel, has been cast in Ghostbusters. So it's a very Marvel-centric movie so far. So I'm very bullish on Ghostbusters as a property because Sony's bullish on it, because they're going to go hard with it. And you're going to see toys, and you're going to see rebranding, and you're going to see a lot of things. It's also important to remember that Hasbro, their movie company is an independent movie company, Allspark Productions. So they have some flexibility that some other companies don't. So I'm not saying you're going to see a Transformers Ghostbusters movie. It's far more likely you would see a animated feature. But again, we're living in the post Into the Spider-Verse kind of world, which if you have Netflix, check it out. Into the Spider-Verse is on Netflix, so you should that's worth a rewatch. But I think that these things are possibilities. We've seen the popularity of the TMNT Batman movie doing pretty well, and the buzz behind the Laughing Man that came from that post-credit scene. I didn't mean to spoil that for you, but it's comics, so we need to know. And I think that this one is one to keep an eye out for. They have incentives like IDW usually does. We have a 1 in 10 incentive, a 1 in 25 incentive, and a 1 in 50 incentive. Only a few stores did exclusives, so I feel good about the incentives. They're not going for crazy money. That 1 in 50 is kind of sitting a ratio or just below. But I'm still optimistic about these books moving up, because I talk about this all the time, guys, about IDW books. You need to have the dry up. And because you don't have what killed like the Shredder and Hell variants was the amount of stores that did store variants. So Shredder and Hell #1 went up to huge dollars. And then stores that did store exclusives were dumping their incentives. I don't think you're going to see that with this book. Also, it's important to note that there's going to be a huge marketing push behind this at SDCC, San Diego Comic-Con, and we're still a few weeks away from that. Also, the toys haven't released yet, which is going to have another impact on the market. So I really think that this is kind of a preeminent thing. We haven't quite hit the point where this is being marketed on a full level by Hasbro, by Sony. So it's something to be on the lookout for. Another thing to be on the lookout for is several weeks ago, an ash can was released for this book, which I think has flown completely under the radar. Stores were giving it for free. Several of them sold it. I bought one myself from a online retailer for like 50 cents. But that's something to keep an eye out for. They are on eBay. They aren't going for a lot of money. And that would be the true first. Shout out to FOMO the Puppet, a.k.a. the Mass Speculator, a.k.a. Topher. But yeah, that's definitely a true first, is that ash can. And we've seen the popularity of ash cans in recent times, and you can even get them graded. So I feel, again, this one was the one that I said I could have put a third one in that long-term play. But if I had to cut one of the three, this is the one I feel like is, you need something else to happen. But I feel good about it. I feel like these toys are going to be popular. I feel like if a certain percentage of people have the same reaction to it that Brian and I had to it, it's going to be money.
Right. And I don't pick up a lot of store variants, but Scorpion Comics had that Clayton Crane I'm sure.
Oh,
Yeah, that was
fabulous.
gorgeous, and it kind of
Yeah.
reminded me of what was it? The Marvel 25th tribute to the Tony Stark Iron Man that just came out, right? Kind of
Yeah.
similar art style, but I just got
And I will
notified that shipped, so I'm glad to get that.
And I will say, I'm gonna give you guys a little bolo here, a little tip. Shout out to Scorpion Comics. I'm not down talking them at all, but they are the one who are doing the heavy dumping on Shredder and Hell. So, my suggestion is, if you at all like this spec, if you at all believe in this spec, right now, or not right now, don't click off the Simpleman's Comics YouTube channel. But when the show is over, head to your eBay app, save Scorpion Comics as a seller. I promise you they're going to put up these incentives in lots. I picked up Shredder and Hell #1, 1 in 25 incentives for like $6 each in lots of 5, which the book was going for in the 30s. It made no sense. So I'm just going to tell you right now to keep an eye out for that. The best way to not let a company affect kind of your ability to profit on them is to buy them up and buy them out. So that's kind of my suggestion there. Brian, had to throw the CBSI swag real quick.
Well, I had to cover up my bedhead. Roger Heller's in the chat, like, what's up with Brian's bedhead? I said, it's been a day, and I need a haircut. I'm outside of regulations, but yeah. But so moving on into the first appearances. I hope I got this right because it said FN Spider-Man #6, but thinking you're
that was wrong.
okay. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man #8, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was one of the reasons why we wanted to come on and do what we did in the intro, because I will acknowledge I've had a higher rate of typos over the last 2 to 3 weeks for sure. But yeah, FN Spider-Man #8 brought in a new villain. I didn't read the book. I'm not real familiar with the book. I'm going to make a point, though, and I want you guys to kind of really think about this as I rock my Spider-Man hat. Spider-Man has introduced several new villains in the last in several different series. We've seen that real creepy villain that debuted in Amazing Spider-Man. I forget his name. We have a new villain debuting here in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And we, of course, have the J.J. Abrams and Son announcement of a new series called Spider-Man, which will debut another new villain. So we talk about follow the money. There seems to be an initiative going on at Marvel to create maybe a deeper rogues gallery. So my antenna is up. This isn't a first appearance that I would usually jump all over. This is a kind of a secondary series. So I don't necessarily think that there's going to be any immediate spec play here. Having said that, again, like I said, my antenna is up. Marvel they're creating all these villains, and I just feel like it can't be a coincidence, because it seems to be every few months there's a new Spider-Man villain being brought into the fold. So, I would love to know, you guys in the chat, if you think I'm onto something here, or if I'm just trying to, find smoke where there's fire type thing, but.
Right. Also, you didn't mention it, but of course, huge Adi Granov fan, so I love that Adi Granov variant that came with it. And I didn't check.
Absolutely.
Was it? It was regular price, right? I think it was $3.99.
Right. Regular price. So guys, don't pay $10 at your LCS for this book. Don't let your LCS run you up. This is a regular price open order variant, so you should be paying cover price for it.
Right. And yeah, I mean, I would just pick it up just being a Granov fan. I spec or not. Just great cover, and it's one of those ones that go in the PC for being a collector of Adi Granov. But
absolutely.
Next one, this one's been pretty big, and that is the Marvel Comics Presents #6. You know what? Before you start talking about it, one thing I loved about this was the only cover for it. Yeah. You didn't have that 1 in 50 or whatever that they've been doing for these Marvel Comics Presents and the Marvel Tales. One cover, and it got some buzz, and it seems to be doing freaking scorching hot on the secondary market right now. Up to, I don't know what sales are, but I know there's listings for like $40, $50.
Yeah, it's selling 30s to 40s for sure. Okay, so let's unpack this one. Let's talk about this one.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is one that there's some circumstances that have affected this. So first off, I'm going to say this is it, all positivity. So shout out to Nick from Key Collector. I'm going to say that right off the bat. He put out the alert about the book saying that, and he kind of worded it that it's Wolverine presumes it to be his daughter. And I think that book, for someone to pick that up, you'd have to be a reader. And you have to ask yourself, how many of these people on the market that are flipping this book are reading Marvel Comics Presents? I don't think a ton. So I think it's more of a testament to the subscriber base that Nick has built with the Key Collector app. So shout out to Nick. I'm not, again, nothing negative about it. He did his job. He's spot on with the spec. I don't have a bad thing to say about it. I know that in the past there's been this like Key Collector CBSI tension, but I'm not coming from it from that perspective. I just want to report on the facts of it as I see it. Again, one man's opinion. So I think people saw that alert and were kind of intrigued by it. I will be honest. I used that to source the first appearance for this list itself. So again, shout out to Nick. And yes, there is validity in spec if this does turn out to be Wolverine's daughter or somebody in Wolverine's life. Obviously, Wolverine is a major character. Obviously, we know what X-23 first appearances have done. I would caution you because I would say we don't know anything. If you're flipping, whoa, that was a rough pause right there. But yeah, anyways.
It's a no. You're like that guy on The Bodyguard. Like, did you ever? Like, no. But yes. While we're in this break, I'm gonna take the moment to say huge thank you to Comics with Bueller for the $10 super chat, by the way. And if you guys have it, which I'm pretty sure everyone probably has, Comics with Bueller, check out his YouTube channel because it's one of the best comic book channels out there. Of course, I have to say mine's better, but that's just, he would say his is better too. But awesome channel, great content, and genuine, nice guy, great comic guy. He's what helps make this community so great. So if you haven't, make sure you check out Comics with Bueller, and thanks again for the super chat.
Yeah, shout out to Bueller for sure. We love Bueller over here.
Continue.
For sure. But yeah, so again, we talk about buying low and selling high. It was something we talked about if you guys watched the Hot and Cold show last night, and it was something we heavily discussed in the chat of the Hot and Cold show. If you are buying this book at $30 or $40 right now, you're taking a major risk. I can't advise that because I can't see. Again, yes, if it turns out to be Wolverine's daughter for sure, and they're going to push her to the extent of X-23, because there's multiple levels of this, because Dakin doesn't go for that. Again, if you guys are not aware, Wolverine has other kids. And they don't go in value what X-23 is. Everyone's making that assumption.
Yeah, he's like the Cromartie of comics. Right.
Yes, he definitely is the Cromartie of comics. If you're not familiar with that, Google Antonio Cromartie. Yeah. So without a doubt, so I think this is a dangerous long-term play. Shout out to all of those who picked up multiple copies. My man Ken, I forgot, hit the beginning part of his Instagram, tagged me in a post, as well as Comic Tom, saying that, showing a picture where he picked 20 copies of this book. So, shout out to my Wednesday Warriors who were able to jump on this, see an alert, see it on the BOLO list, make a move, and are making flips. This is a book that I would be selling right now and capitalizing on the FOMO that's going on, because that's what it is. That's why FOMO the puppet exists. That's why FOMO is so big in comics, because all those who are missing out on cover price are feeling like, well, I need to jump in and grab this. And again, I'll say there's a chance I could be wrong. There's a chance this character could blow up. There's a chance this character could be the next big thing, of course. But when you're talking about $40, I want you to start looking around the market at other moderns with a $40 price tag and ask yourself, aren't you safer putting your money into a more secure, safe bet? Yes, it's benefited by not having a incentive variant. This is the only cover. But I'll also say, be on the lookout for issue number 5, which has a cameo appearance, which is only just now, maybe in the last half day or so, starting to get some attention. There is also that Rob Liefeld 1 in 50 variant for number 5. So if you're going to go cameo, that may be one to take a look at. And my CBSI Warriors are letting us know that that book is doubling in price in the last 24 hours, that Rob Liefeld. So that's something to look out for. So again, cautious spec. Shout out to Nick from Key Collector for being all over this. And I really think being the one who like alerted everyone and spurred in the market on this. But yeah, be cautious with this one. Again, buy what you like. We tell you guys that as often as possible. So, but if you're looking for my advice, this is a cover price grab. I'd be scared to go grabbing this book at $20, $30, $40. This is the type of book that has a good chance of ending up on the CBSI hot cold show in the cold category in a couple weeks if it plummets down to like, the $10, $15 level. Which at the $10, $15 level is a more safe buy, even though it's over cover price, because then you can kind of get into a long-term play with it. That would be the level I'd want to pick it up at in your mint.
Yep. So, yeah. And I do have one going out in one of the boxes tomorrow, so we'll see. But going right into the last on our first appearance list this week, and that is one of my favorite reads since Jason Aaron started his run, and I'm sad to see it coming to an end here shortly, but we have Thor number 14. And this is what, the first appearance of Venom Sword?
Venom Sword, and there looks to be a new kind of symbiote in this book. I haven't read it yet. It's one I'm waiting to come in, but yeah, so I love the way they're tying Thor and Venom together. Donny Cates is a huge fan of Jason Aaron's. He's almost, Jason Aaron is kind of a mentor to Donny Cates. I think Jason Aaron has been Marvel's go-to kind of like large-scale world-building writer. I think Donny Cates is poised to be that next guy for them. I think there's almost a passing of the torch going on there, as I think Jason Aaron also wants to get back to doing a lot more of his creator-owned product, and we're seeing that with Sea of Stars coming out soon. Which also, speaking of Heroes Con, be on the lookout for that Sea of Stars Ash Can that released at Heroes Con. Only 100 copies. I think Sea of Stars has a lot of buzz behind it. I think that Ash Can is the one to grab. But yeah, I love the way that Jason Aaron and Donny Cates have worked together, tying together this Thor and Venom story. As you guys know, we're real bullish on Venom spec. We love Thor. Thor spec hasn't always played out, though. It hasn't always made you money. And tying into the Venom series, I think, has done a lot for this series. Thor is what I agree with Brian is one of my favorite series to read, though. Yeah. Thor is a series I don't buy on a monthly basis, but I do buy the trades. Jason Aaron is amazing, and Thor wasn't a character I loved growing up. I've said it before, I don't like old time stuff. I'm not a big Norse god guy, but Brian actually over the last year, I love Jason Aaron. Brian was such an advocate of it. I started reading all of Jason Aaron's Thor stuff, and I picked up some of the older trades on clearance and things like that, and I've just fallen in love with it. It's amazing.
Right. There was.
So, yeah, I think
there was some like right when they first kind of sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm gonna let you finish, but I wasn't crazy about. I wasn't as crazy about the. We're both coughing up lungs. Interior art on Mike Del Mundo, but the story was so good that it kind of carried it through, and then I found myself liking the interior art a little bit more. But yeah, Jason Aaron's run, especially from 2011, I wasn't too crazy about the whole Jane Foster thing, but I stayed with it. But yeah, definitely enjoyed the Thor run over the past 7 years, and he's getting ready to team up with Asad Ribic, right, for interiors on a mini series coming up, I think, in a couple months. But,
yeah. And then he's going to move over and do a Valkyrie book. So he's still going to stay within that kind of world. I see in the chat somebody said they'd like to see Donny Cates do Thor. I'm just going to go ahead and say that I think that's going to happen. I really believe that that's going to happen. I don't think they would have had Donny Cates tying into the story so much if he wasn't going to be that next one to take it up. I wonder how much Donny Cates can put on his shoulders, though, because I think he's doing so much already. But I definitely think that that's going to happen in the future. And as far as a speculation play, I like this one because it's not really booming on the secondary market, so it's still low-key. And we have no idea how Donnie's going to tie this in yet. Remember, Donny Cates has been on hiatus from Venom. Cullen Bunn's been doing Venom during War of Realms. I think a lot of the Venom stuff has been kind of underrated and hasn't really not cold, but has dropped off as he's been off the book. And I think that there's a lot of money to be made left in whatever Donnie's going to do with his return with the next issue of Venom, going into Absolute Carnage and everything. And I don't think anything that's created in this Thor series as it pertains to Venom is just a throwaway appearance. I think we will see it again in the future. So let us know in the chat how you feel about it. Let us know how you felt when you read the issue. But yeah, at this point, I'm buying anything that relates to Donny Cates because the guy likes to play with his own toys, and so
yeah. And that wraps up the first appearances. I want to take a moment. We still got other people coming into the chat also. And Thomas Gray also put in the chat, Wolverine's stepdaughters, neighbors, twin sisters, evil puppies. 18th variant first appearance is what he's holding out for. But, yeah. Always.
And I see
Go ahead.
Carolina Detective Comics 106. I see Carolina Chris talking about Detective Comics 106. I have to mention, it's not on the list. I absolutely love that variant cover for that book that released this week.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's one of the best things about this show is the people that come into the chat and the conversation that takes place in the chat. Even if it's with the show and then you get into the sidebar conversation in the chat, sometimes I repeat what Jack has just said after he's done talking because I was concentrating on the chat. So, yeah. But I like to just say I'm really stressing his point and hitting it home. Not that I was distracted by the chat by any means, but... So next up on the BOLO list, we actually have the Reader Buzz, right? Big Reader Buzz section this week.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. And to be honest with you, I had to cut some stuff. I could have added a few more. There was a lot of buzz going from different communities about different books. It was our Instagram feed, our Twitter feed were filled with a lot of people championing different books.
Right. So we're going to go right on into it here. And do we want to talk about this now, or do we want to hold off to it till your long-term play?
We're going to hold off. All I'm going to say is we told you so.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to get into that, and we're just going to go pass over it right now. We talked about Power Rangers 40 already. Talked about Transformer Ghostbusters. We're going to go right into SpiderMan Annual number 1, featuring Peter Porker. Spider-Man.
Right. So this one caught off guard, I think, a bit. But let me tell you something, okay? I'm going to talk again about a guy that I have an affinity for that you guys know that I've talked about, but my man Jason Latour. Shout out to Jason. He's a big supporter of CBSI, big supporter of the channel. He was, he's always been a good dude to me every time that he's local to me. He's a Charlotte guy, so I'm 20 minutes outside of Charlotte, so he's always been real good to me and accessible. And I know from talking to him over the years, his dream has been to write Spider-Ham for Marvel. And a lot of people will see that as silly. But for him, he's a funny guy. He has a sense of humor. It's kind of what he's always wanted to do. And Marvel has always rebuffed that idea. And never kind of gave him the go-ahead to do this. And I think two things happened that changed that. First, Spider-Gwen has been an undeniable success. He took something that was a throwaway and made it a character that is just dominant in the hobby. And I think the sky is the future for Spider-Gwen. I don't know. I haven't gotten quite yet on the Ghost Spider train. But, yeah, I think Spider-Gwen is unlimited potential. And when Into the Spider-Verse came out, again, to bring it back to Into the Spider-Verse, which I think is so huge for the market right now, it introduced Spider-Ham to so many people that had never seen this character before. And now, of course, I've always found this character entertaining and funny. It's from my childhood. I was a little kid when this character debuted. So, sorry for the phone notification there. But, this is a character I always enjoyed. But it was really funny watching this movie with my kids and seeing how my kids reacted to Spider-Ham. I think most kids found Spider-Ham to be kind of the funniest person, the star of the movie. So I think Marvel finally was in a position to be like, all right, Jason, we'll let you do what you've been asking us to do, but we'll let you do it in a one shot. And this book kind of deceived people because I even had a comment on the the BOLO list where a reader said, I didn't see the Spider-Man Annual. Well, because if you notice the trade dress, they intentionally play down the fact that it's a Spider-Man Annual and play up that it's Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham. I'll tell you why I think that is. I think they're testing out the validity of an ongoing series. I think they're...
Did we lose him? Yeah. Good stuff. We're going to work to get Jack back here real quick. I guess he's about to disclose Marvel's secrets. They didn't want that. All right, let's see here. Let's see if I can bring Jack back 1 second. All right. I think we got Jack back. So I'm going to bring him back in the... I was telling him, I think Marvel didn't want you disclosing their secrets.
Yeah, they're getting mad at me here. Again, all the more reason, guys, buy the BOLO boxes, buy the CBSI variants. We got to get this damn internet fixed. But anyways, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, I was on a Spider-Ham roll there. But yeah, I think I think they're testing out the validity of a series. I think that's why the trade dress was changed. That's not something typical of what happens within a book. Jason commented on Facebook that he's seen comments anywhere from "this was a boring, terrible book" to "this was the best book released by Marvel this week." So obviously, it kind of depends on where you sit. This is a silly book, it's fun. There's been some heat on a character in there. Spider Gwen, spelled like penguin. This is not a first appearance, although some are saying it's a first appearance. She did previously appear in I think it was a Spider-Gwen annual. It was a bit of a cameo, but obviously, I don't know. Maybe Jason's trying to world build for Peter Parker. And it's funny because you really have no idea. It sounds silly, Spider-Gwen. But who's to say Into the Spider-Verse #2 couldn't have Spider-Gwen in the movie? I mean, we have no idea. But the 1 in 50 variant, obviously being a Peter Porker book, obviously being a annual, wasn't heavily ordered. Now, how many stores do you think were ordering 50 copies of this book? The 1 in 50 book has done extremely well. It's above ratio, and it's done well because it's just the supply is not out there. It's not a book we're seeing everywhere, and this was a book that flew under a lot of people's radar. But obviously, it was one I was kind of anticipating for a while, again, because of, my affinity for my man, Jason Latour. Shout out to Jason again. It just seems like everything this guy touches does well, yet he doesn't get that respect as a writer and as an artist. He still kind of flies under the radar. But everything that he does for Marvel seems to be a hit. So I'm bullish on Peter Porker. I would grab those first appearances when you get the opportunity. I would take advantage of the fact that the movie has kind of had some time in theaters. Those first appearances have dropped from the that original kind of hype. Again, that's Marvel Tales, TAILS #1. I really think that Peter Porker is here to stay. And I think the way he connects with children, the way merchandise sales did, a lot of toys sold of Peter Porker, I think that this is a character that's here to stay. I think Jason Latour would be the perfect person to bring that character really to life, both on the page and on the big screen.
Right. It's definitely my 5-year-old's favorite character. And you mentioned when you started talking about the book about how it's on Netflix now.
Right.
My kid was supposed to be in bed, and he came down like 30 minutes past bedtime, and he made sure that I knew it was on Netflix because he told me like 6 times that I'm watching Spider-Verse on Netflix. That I was like, all right, go to sleep. But I'm watching. Just go to sleep. But yeah. So next on the list we had Spawn number 298, leading up to Spawn 300, the road to 300, as they say, right?
Yes. We are on the way to 300, and it's 9 million covers. It's funny because when you watch the announcement for Spawn 300, Todd McFarlane goes out of his way to say he's not going to do a bunch of covers.
Yeah.
And then he did a bunch of covers. But anyways, I'm not, homages are awesome. I think that Todd McFarlane homages get overdone. But it's cool to see Todd homaging himself. What may be seen as arrogant by some, I think, is just cool. So he's kind of playing off this whole road to 300, obviously off of his Amazing Spider-Man run, the introduction of Venom. So we get the ASM 298 homage here with Spawn 298. There's 3 covers. You have the trade dress, that beautiful Virgin cover, and then the trade dress black and white, kind of that line item drawing. I like all 3 covers. I ordered all 3 covers. I'm a believer in Spawn long term. I know the movies had some complications, but if you look at Spawn books dry up, Spawn books go up. It's kind of like tried and true at this point. It's just not a short-term play. So I do think sets of the road to 300, 301 will do well, but I do think that like when you get to issue 300 and you get to issue 301, the record-breaking issue, I think those are going to be heavily ordered issues. So I do think there will be some slow. Also, 300 is tough because it's $7.99 cover price. But they're talking about some new powers for Spawn, some new abilities. I don't know if that's really going to be what moves the market. I think really the marketing here is honestly the homage covers. I think that's more what people are into. People are more into the fact that it kind of brings up the old Spider-Man vibe and feel. So, cover art sells books these days. People can complain about that. We hear a lot of complaining about that. Oh, what about the guts? And obviously, we talk about reading on this channel all the time. We're big reading advocates. But cover art, oftentimes, when you're solicited and all you have is a 4-sentence solicitation and cover art is what sells the book. It's what drives the market. And that's what's selling these books right now.
Right. And then moving right along, the book that seemed like it hit some delays over the first issue, but we finally got Batman Damned number 3. I love these books. I love the stories, but I hate oversized comic books. I hate having to buy a different bag and board. I hate storing in a different, can't store it in my long box. But these covers are gorgeous. So
yeah, and I'll take it a step further. If you're a dealer, it creates an issue with you because it takes up more real estate on your back wall. If you're putting books up on your back wall, if you want to sell Batman Damned, like the way I like to do for live sales again is, I'm looking for that kind of low end sale, high profit margin sale. So I would love to have a short box out with all those Batman Damned issues. The issue becomes now you have to have a magazine size short box on your table. You got to have enough books in there to fill it. You add more. It creates an issue that I don't think DC's thinking about at the time. Haven't said that. Art is gorgeous. The story has been fun. I'm excited for DC Black Label. That's why I'm not like broken up about the Vertigo thing. Like I grew up on Vertigo comics, so I love Vertigo comics. But I'm not broken up about it because I keep trying to tell people like Vertigo, the name is going to go away, but Vertigo comics aren't going to go away. And I'll even go so far as to say it could be good for Vertigo comics because we could start seeing more of those characters show up in the DC universe the way Daniel the Endless did in Justice League. But, Batman Damned has been kind of like the pillar to come out with for DC Black Label. It was a great first release for them. It's really kind of connected. A lot of people thought, went with the gimmick of the, naked Batman. That was kind of the early talk. But if people are still talking about that, I feel like you're not reading it, you're not checking it out. I think the Lee Bermejo artwork has been just stellar. I love Jim Lee. I grew up, those Image guys, McFarlane, Liefeld. Everybody knows I love Liefeld. Jim Lee, those are my guys. Those are the guys I grew up. Mark Silvestri. Those are the guys I grew up idolizing. But this Bermejo art, this cover A, is what I think will be the long-standing issues that you'll want. Is that cover A? That cover A for 1, 2, and 3. I think will always be in high demand. And I'm just excited to see what DC Black Label is going to come out in the future. And that's why I think that Superman Year One caught people off guard because, it was Romita. People didn't like the art. Frank Miller has been kind of hit or miss of late. I love his Daredevil run. But, these DC Black Labels, they're connecting with an audience. It reminds me a lot of Brian and I are pro wrestling fans. So it reminds me, and I love to bring everything back to pro wrestling if I can. If I can bring it back to pro wrestling, I'm going to do it. But it reminds me of pro wrestling. Like, you have to have wrestling for everybody. And there's a certain community that wants that hardcore, that wants that a little bit edgier, a little bit more adult. And you've seen that with, like, AEW. And then today's major WWE announcement that they're putting Paul Heyman in charge of Raw, the former ECW owner, and Eric Bischoff in charge of SmackDown, the former WCW president. So, there's a certain community of people that want those types of things. And I think this book is filling that niche. So I say shout out to DC for their move to end these like little boutique labels and instead focus on that mature audience content as well as that children's content, which again, if you don't have kids reading comics, you have no future for comics. So I shout out to DC. I like that they did that. I'm still looking at DC like you need to change your late printings. We need new cover art. But other than that, I love what DC's doing. So they did a heck of a job with Batman Damned. It was really fun. I find it hard for anyone to not like it.
I can't even type it. They asked like pro wrestling as an Olympics. I was like, no, we're talking more like sports entertainment.
Yeah. We're talking headlocks and body slams, boys and girls.
Yeah, with some bad Undertaker in the middle of it. But
right.
Yeah.
And check out AEW if you're a lapsed wrestling fan and you haven't watched wrestling in a long time. On Saturday, download the Bleacher Report app. They're having a free pay-per-view to kind of like show off the new company, Fighter Fest. There's going to be some cool matches. So check that out. That would be my big suggestion. If you're a lapsed wrestling fan, that has the best chance of bringing you back in.
Right. So moving more into the Reader Buzz section, next up on the list, we have the return of Weatherman, right? This is Volume 2, Number 1.
Right, Volume 2, Number 1. We talk about independent comics and what it takes to sell an independent comic. And I have to say, one of the things I really love about this book is the creative team. These guys are hustlers. They're hustlers on social media. They're hustlers at the convention hall. If you've ever been to a convention where they're set up, the way that they market themselves is incredible. They've created trailers for this book. They've created Instagram pages and accounts just for the book. The way they interact with fans, it's been incredible. The story's been great. A lot of people have liked it. I think, again, we live in the age of option. I think it's prime for an option. This is Volume 2, so as a spec play, I don't know. But I haven't read the book yet. You got to read it because if you watch the CBSI Hot and Cold show last night, we talked about Southern Bastards. And we talked about kind of when these indie books are getting optioned, everyone just jumps on number 1. And most of the time, that's a safe bet. That's where all the first appearances are. But a book like Southern Bastards, there's appearances and important key events in issue 2. So we're seeing more and more of what has been kind of dubbed the Mignola style of releasing series, where you do short volumes and then multiple volumes, kind of almost a mini series, and then kind of come back to it. We're seeing that Mad Cave has made that their kind of their modus operandi with how they release books, again, which is why we dropped that Knights of the Golden Sun Virgin variant, limited to 80 to celebrate, the end of their Knights of Golden Sun Volume 1. Available right now, comicbookinvest.com. Hit that variants tab. But yeah, so I really think that the Weatherman has done a good job connecting with fans. It's got solid reader buzz. It's prime for an option. it's one of the few indie books that has done incentives, or one of the few image books that has done incentives for the first issues. Some of those incentives have popped. We've seen the incentives hit the CBSI Hot 10 list. Shout out to Ben Stein, the writer of the Hot 10 list. And I'll say shout out to Comic Tom and Russ Bright over at the Comic Tom 101 YouTube channel who do the video. Yeah, those books have resonated before. So, Volume 2 isn't really popping in the market yet. I think it's tough because it was also a very busy week for comics, as we said. There were a lot of books that were secondary market movers. This is a bit more of a sleeper. Keep an eye out for it. And if you read it, let us know in the chat how you feel about it. Are there any Weatherman fans out there? This is, again, it's one of my favorite image books right now. I like it. And I love, like I said, I love the creators. That makes a difference to me because you got to sell a book. You got to sell a book to an audience, and then you got to sell a book to a movie studio. And that takes somebody who can do that.
Right. So we're going to keep on going right now. And the next on the Reader Buzz list was Crow Hack and Slash, right?
Right. This is kind of a unique one. This was I put this one up late. I started to see a lot of the incentive posts. A lot of people were anticipating this one. Hack and Slash has been around for a while, never really done anything on the secondary market. Crow has its moments. There's the moment. Crow, obviously, it's one of those properties kind of similar to what we talk about with G.I. Joe and Transformers, where there is a niche fan base that loves the Crow. And even though we can't seem to get anything other than the original Crow movie to come out or to be any good, people won't give up. There is some talk of this being a first appearance. Some people are calling it a redesigned Crow. For that to have validity, we would need to see
the Crow that laughs.
Yeah, we would need to see this version of the Crow in a movie for this to become really a valid first appearance worth speculating on for first appearance purposes. But again, we're talking IDW, so we're talking a smaller print run. We're talking incentives. I think there's a 1 in 10 and a 1 in 25 incentive. And these incentives, I think they sold out at Midtown. Again, that's not a huge indicator of success. It depends on what Midtown's ordering was, but they're one of the most publicly known companies. And there were a lot of smaller companies I saw didn't even offer the incentives, so that told me that they didn't even order enough. So this one is one to keep an eye on. If you can get those incentives cheap, that's what I'm looking for. Those incentives might be there. And again, for me, it's more about Crow per se than Hack and Slash. I think that the Crow has that niche fan base. But for whatever reason, whether it's the curse of Brandon Lee or whatever, we just can't seem to get a Crow movie made. There's been some near misses. It's been close. And obviously, the first appearance of the Crow has been a popular back issue that's been well talked about from so many people. It's a favorite within CBSI. There are several CBSI contributors who have been stockpiling Crow first appearances to no real avail yet. But it's one that I think will pay off. Hollywood loves these kinds of properties, and it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Can't rain all the time.
Right.
Moving on. Trying to keep it going because, like I said, we got a big Reader Buzz section this week, right?
Yep.
So next on there, you had Ghost Tree. Ghost Tree number 3 came out this week, but you also had the newer printings, third print of number 1, right, and second print of number 2 this week. So we got those up there.
These are like this one, and then there's Road of Bones was kind of similar, just to kind of spoil that. But we can kind of go through those kind of quickly. But this is antithesis of Reader Buzz. Ghost Tree came out, obviously Ghost Tree number 1, the first print, popped on the secondary market. You saw Andy from the Indie Spotlight series often talking about that one on Instagram. It went under people's radar. It was only one cover. There was no variants or anything. So IDW has tried to capitalize on that and release. This is now the third print. They've released some later printings. I wish, again, they would change the cover art. I think they're missing out on that. But I think they're doing it more for readers. This is really a series built on readers. A lot of people have been talking adaptation with this series. So, yeah, on one Wednesday, they released issue 3, the first print, issue 2, the second print, and issue 1, the third print. So they gave you an opportunity to hit your LCS, and for $10 to $12, get caught up on Ghost Tree, have those floppies in your collection. And I think it was smart by IDW, and it seems to have done well.
Right, and then you had mentioned Road of Bones. You have that on here as well. I haven't had a chance to read the second issue. Love the first issue, but I just love that whole time period, post World War II. Right, it was like 1953, Siberian Gulag, basically escaping it, and what is it, like a guardian angel type thing, right? But it's not
Yeah.
really your typical guardian angel. It's almost like if you've seen The Rejected or read The Rejected from Source Point Press, it's that kind of got
Yeah.
your back type thing. But look forward to reading number 2. But the second print for issue number 1 came out, and you have issue number 2 this week.
Right, same kind of deal. If you missed issue 1, if you didn't want to pay the $10 to $15 that it was going to cost you to grab issue number 1, here's a great opportunity. You walk in, you grab issue number 2, you grab issue number 1, the second print. Again, come on, IDW, let's change this cover art up. But,
Right. And as mentioning Source Point Press, the next book is a Source Point Press book, right? And Samurai Grandpa? Yes.
Right, and this is a book that was not on my radar. I'll tell you, the first time it came on my radar was when I met the creator at HeroesCon. He actually gave me an advance copy of the book. I checked it out. I knew instantly I was going to put it on the BOLO list. If my thought was, if it didn't get talked about in the market, it would be the long-term play, which would have been tough this week with all the releases that we were getting. But I really like this book. I really enjoyed it. And I think that it seems to be connecting with an audience. I had a DM today from a follower asking, about this book being sold out of Diamond. Does that mean that there's some serious validity with this book? So, I shared some information with him. I'll share it with you guys. Being sold out of Diamond doesn't guarantee that a book is going to pop in the secondary market. What it does mean is dealers can't order more.
Yeah. So you get screwed with Kanto.
Right. Yeah, right. So when dealers can't order more, what that does is it means, for a book to pop on the secondary market, it needs to sell out at Diamond and then sell out at retail. It doesn't mean that this is going to guarantee be a secondary market boom, but what it does mean is that it's already hit that first step. So if it sells out at retail, dealers can't go back and get more copies. It's another book with one cover. It's a low print, small press book. I wish I can't remember the creator's name off the top of my head. I should have prepared for that, but again, I apologize.
Easton DeVerna?
Yeah.
And then Sean Daly. Sean Daly, I believe that's also the artist who did Rejected, right?
Who did Ogre.
Ogre,
yeah,
that's
he did
it.
Ogre. He did Ogre. So that's that. Yeah, a lot of people are probably familiar with his work. But yeah, he was hustling this book at HeroesCon. He was out there really like pressing flesh, letting people know. Everybody that walked up to the booth, he was pitching his book. He has talked about coming on the Indie Spotlight Series show to talk about this book and some other stuff, and we would love to have him. So this is a book to keep an eye out for. I think it's a book more than some other Source Point Press books has a chance at an option. It may be in the animated space, but again, post Spider-Verse, where animated films have kind of a whole new feel to them as far as the possibilities. So keep an eye out for this one. Again, sold out of Diamond. So if you see it sitting at your retailer, you may want to grab a copy or two and throw them in a long box, short box, because they're not going to be able to order more. And I don't think the print run on this thing was giant at all. So, and I enjoyed the book. So if you read the book, if you're in the chat, let us know what you thought about the book. Let us know if you felt like I felt. I'm not going to come out here and talk about a book just because an artist asked or a writer asked me to. When he gave me the book, I was like, I'll check it out. And I was skeptical at first, but I was surprised how much I liked it. And I know Andy from the Indie Spotlight Series show also really liked it as well. I know he had an advanced copy as well. So that tells me something.
Right. One thing I'm seeing this one, I haven't really read Ghost Tree so I can't say much about that. But one trend that I am seeing that seems to be a lot of reader buzz around is these Asian type comics with samurais or Honor and Curse,
Yes.
Samurai Grandpa now, a couple others. It's weird how trends pop up like that, like kind of like in the late 90s with all the Latin music craze that came over with but it's just weird to observe how these trends come around.
Right. I agree, and I'll take it even one step further, Brian, and how much I think you're hitting the nail on the head. I've talked on here before about watching Netflix shows with my girlfriend, and I don't always control the remote when that happens. And two things that I've watched recently, one on HBO and one on Netflix, was the movie Crazy Rich Asians, and then the movie Always Be My Maybe on Netflix. Both of them are excellent, funny, romantic comedies. Good time if you're a couple out there. It's a good movie to watch with your girl or your guy. But both of them were cast almost entirely with Asian actors, and two things stick out. Number one, there's so many talented Asian actors in Hollywood right now. Like, it's an utter boom, and I really think it's just a reaction to the casting of like Keanu Reeves and Tom Cruise in past roles that should have been predominantly Asian Americans or Asian people of Asian descent, and the whitewashing of those films and the negative backlash that they received on Twitter have really resulted in these Asian actors getting a chance. So again, when we talk about diversity in comics and the importance of diversity in comics and representation on the big screen, and I think that Brian's right. There seems to be a boom in this Asian culture. This anime seems to be really hot right now as well in America. So this kind of stuff is popular, and there's actors in place in Hollywood to play these roles. So I think that there's a good opportunity right here, a good investment opportunity. And I think that Hollywood studios are looking to capitalize on the giant fan bases and the giant population of China, Japan, and all the Asian countries, where also the movie business is very big, and movie studios bank on these releases from these Asian countries.
Right, and that brings us to the conclusion of the Reader Buzz section. We're going to have the Variant Buzz, which you had quite a few books on there. Well, I say quite a few as well, right?
Right.
But the one book that I did want to make sure we talked about was this Angel #2. There was a 1 per store variant.
Yes.
I didn't hear a lot of people talking about. I don't know if it caught people by surprise. But we know from our interview with Arun, who we're getting ready to have a second interview with, he turned us on to this book. We've had this discussion. I wasn't a big Buffy fan or an Angel fan, but I'm enjoying these books. And this Thank You variant was something that I don't know how many people knew about it or not. Or 1 per store variant.
It's interesting because, people have almost alluded to or accused us, I'll say me, of kind of shouting out boom or whatever by putting Angel on the list. But here's what you got to understand. Look at these retailers that, if it's 1 per store, Midtown gets 1 too. Whether you're an LCS that has, the smallest of pull boxes or the largest, if it's 1 per store, it's 1 per store. And because of that, the larger shops tend to try to maximize the profit on these books. So Midtown sells these 1 per store Angel books for $85. Now again, it's only one, and it only takes one person. But every time they release one of these, it's sold out. And that I noticed that across the board, whether you're talking My Comic Shop, excuse me, TFAW, it really doesn't matter. These books are selling out upon release. People are pricing them anywhere from $50 to $100, and they're selling out. Now, do they drop off on eBay a bit? Yes. I'm not advocating you pay $85. I am advocating you, though, if your LCS just doesn't care about Angel, or this isn't something that they're really, looking at, and they're putting it out for cover price, or if they're putting it out for $10, $15, it's a very good play. I don't know how long they're going to continue these thank you variants, but they did one for Angel 0. That got real hot. They did one for Angel 1, and now they've got one for Angel 2. And, these are limited and extremely unique. We don't know the print run on them, but it has to be small because you have to have a diamond account. So it's only diamond accounts that ordering Angel are getting these thank you variants.
Right, and I believe this had I don't know much about Angel. Like I said, didn't watch the show, but I believe this has first appearance of character Fred in it, is from what I was hearing also.
Yeah. There's a lot of first appearances in Angel. I'm trying to learn the Buffy and Angel universe. Brian and I have talked about this on the show. Neither of us grew up watching Buffy or Angel or anything, but I'm starting to really respect the fan base from the, like I talk about the basis of really respecting fandom, whether it's your fandom or not. I don't care whether it's My Little Pony or G.I. Joe. If there's people out there buying it, I want to be the one who sells it to them. So I'm in the process of learning Angel and Buffy, but yeah, Boom is coming with it with this Angel series. There's like a first appearance in every issue, and they're already planning spin-offs from Angel and so on and so forth. So it's something to keep an eye out for sure.
Right. Sorry, answering in chat. Yeah, I agree with Brett Hess. Supernatural is greater than Angel, but that's just me, and I can only say that because I didn't really watch Angel. And Sam and Dean for life. I think we kind of talked about that in the chat, or I know we've discussed it before in here, but there was a question in there like, can anyone open a Diamond account? And I believe you have to have a registered business, right? It doesn't have to be a brick and mortar, but you have to register business, and I think it's a minimum $400 a month order.
It's a minimum of $400 a month order. I will tell you guys, when you start off with Diamond, your discount isn't going to be what you're hoping it to be. They're going to start you out smaller. You're going to have to, prove that you can, handle the orders and that you're going to pay on time, and then you can build it up.
And I think they test you on purpose because they just send you shitty conditioned books.
And then you have to deal with that.
Yeah,
then you have to deal with
getting replacements.
Right. Returns, replacements. There's little nuances that you have to do. Like, a lot of people don't realize, if you don't actually ask for the incentive, they're not just going to give it to you just because you ordered 25 copies of something. You have to put on your order form the incentive. So there's a lot of little nuances like that to getting into a Diamond account. If you're out there flipping on a major basis, you're doing like a lot of, books. That's a Diamond account is a good way to go about doing it. But it's really not for everybody, and it's something I'd watch out for. And kind of make sure you're in a position to be prepared to take that on, because it's a whole nother ball game. You're starting a true business. You're not flipping books anymore. You're really starting a business. So if that's your aspirations, I say, absolutely go for it. But yeah, be careful.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because I looked into it a couple years ago when I was all rejuvenated about comics, and yeah. But I also know myself where I'm that lazy guy that'll get like damaged books and be like, I'm gonna return them, and the next thing I know, they're just sitting there like weeks later. I'm gonna.
And Diamond's tough because they're a monopoly. You can't go anywhere else. You're stuck. So it's funny because dealers complain on a weekly basis about their Diamond orders, but they're gonna go right back and order because they don't have any other choice. And Diamond knows it.
Yeah.
So that's why they're only gonna do so much.
Yeah. So that's why we talked about also. I mean, you kind of saw it this week with Kanto. I'm sure people were even talking about in the chat how there's a lot of damaged books coming out. But speaking of,
I'll tell you who's going to make money on Kanto is the pressers.
Yeah.
Shout out to your local presser.
Yep. But while we're bringing up Kanto, let's go ahead and get into your long-term play. But this week, we got the double long-term play, right?
Yes.
So we're going to talk it up. This is like, we're going to humble brag, right? I'm going to pat ourselves on the back a little bit because...
as humble as possible.
Yeah. We were fortunate enough to interview the creators of this book. If you haven't seen it, it's on Simpleman's Comics YouTube channel, CBSI Indie Spotlight series. We interviewed David Boer and Drew Zucker, the writer and artist on this book. And we couldn't say enough about it. We enjoyed the interview. The interview made us do more research on the book. Jack had done some research before we even did the interview, but between the comic book trailer, and then they did give us a PDF copy of the book to read. Couldn't say enough. That's why we were trying to tell people, hey, spec put aside, this is a book, all ages book, but it's not your typical all ages where at each age level you kind of get something else from the book, right?
Right. And I'd like to, again, I'd love to be humble here, but I'm going to go ahead and let loose a little bit. It's one of those things where I'm not surprised by this at all. And this is kind of what I expected to happen. Sure, the prices are maybe higher than I expected to an extent. Some of that is the print run damage that we'll get into in a little bit of detail in a moment. But yeah, so like the story, the origin story behind how we got on board with this book, I saw on Twitter the writer, David Boer, kind of mention that, hey, look, I have this book coming out and I would love to talk to some podcasts about this book. And again, I like that because it's, if you're going to sell an independent comic, you have to physically sell it yourself. And I can appreciate what David was trying to do there by kind of putting it out there to the Twitterverse that, you know, he was looking to promote this book. And it timed up really well because I was putting my own previews orders in, and I had already kind of looked at this book in the solicitation, and it struck a chord with me. It struck a chord with me because, first off, you guys know I love IDW books. I just love their system, their incentive system. I love the fact that a lot of you guys sleep on IDW books, which lets me capitalize. And this was one that we tried to share with you guys from the get-go. We wanted you guys to know. I hope Simpleman's Comics family got in on this book. I know the print run situation is tough, but I hope you guys got in on this book because we were trying to let you know from the get-go. So I reached out to David Boer. I reached out to Brian and Andy, and I said, hey, what do you guys think about this? They checked out the book, and they were both instantly, they felt the same way I felt. Like, hey, yeah, let's bring them on. The book connects with an audience on multiple levels. Number one, the artwork is gorgeous. So just when you look at the artwork, I love it. It resonates. The story is great. It's an all-ages story, and it's one of those stories. To me, it's like a Pixar movie.
Yeah,
Kids are going
to... Sorry, but...
No, you're good.
To me, we always, especially with the IDW type stuff, we always harken back to nostalgia with the G.I. Joes, the Transformers. So I was always kind of in that frame of mind looking at this book, reading this story. It reminded me of my childhood with those movies like Secret of NIMH, American Tail type stuff, that type of genre where there's this epic underdog character, and then the trailer for it led into it, and then once I read the book itself, I put all spec aside. I just love this book from the story and something that I can have my kids read as well.
And see, I'm the type of guy, it's impossible for me to put spec aside. So yeah, I read this book and I loved it, but that just made me even more hype for the spec of it. So in reading an advanced copy and loving this book, in watching the trailer, again, I applaud Drew Zucker and David Boer going out of their way to promote this book as much as they can. This is a passion project for these guys. And if you watch our interview on the Indie Spotlight series show right here on the Simpleman's Comics YouTube channel, you will see these guys that this is their passion. This is the book. This is their baby. Kanto is their child. And they really, really wanted this book to be successful, but I don't think they knew yet how successful this book was going to be. But I feel like we did, because kind of similar to the way I talk about the way Brian and I reacted to the Transformers Ghostbusters. I always feel like if myself, Brian, and Andy react to something a certain way, it's a good indication of the way the market will react, because so many people in the market, they're similar to us. They're looking for entertaining reads. A lot of us have kids. You know, we talked about DC Black Label, and that's great. But I also want to be able to share something with my kids. So Into the Spider-Verse allowed me to do that, and I appreciated that. Kanto is something that will allow you to have a book you and your kids can read together, read separately. And like I said, it's a Pixar movie. And it's a movie, it's a book where you're going to get one thing from it. What I get from it, if you've ever been in love, not to get like super sappy, but if you've ever been in love, you know that you'll do anything for the person you love. That value of that is just immense to you. And so as somebody who is in a relationship, who has somebody that they love, I can relate to, if I was in Kanto's position, what I would be willing to do and what I'm sure Brian would do for his wife. And, you know, and that's one of those things that will relate to us. At the same point, children, they're not going to pick up on that because they've never been in that position. But they've been the underdog before. The kids have felt like, you know, they were different, and they know what it's like to root for that person. They can see themselves. Kanto's small. He's cute. You know, it's the type of thing that children can relate to. So I feel like it's a very adult story wrapped in some kid, kind of wrapped in a children's package. Something that, and that's what Hollywood's looking for. So that's where I say I can't keep this spec out of it. Excuse me. And I've been teasing David Boer. I've been DMing him on Twitter with the hashtag Canto movie, because I'm putting that out into the universe right now, and I really believe that's going to happen. There's no way Hollywood isn't paying attention to what happened with this book this weekend. And again, 1 in 10 incentive. We tried to make everybody aware of this book. We tried to give everybody the opportunity pre-FOC to get in on this book. So you could order it as many as you wanted. You could have loaded up on incentives. And it appears that less people than I would have hoped took us up on that. But had you, I mean, that 1 in 10 incentive was hitting $70, $75. And it seems like it still has a bullet on its back. Guys, be on the lookout for these future number 2, number 3, number 4. There's more incentives. I think this book is going to continue to be hot. This story is going to develop. And then, we would be remiss to talk about this book and not talk about the print run issue. There was some significant damage on a large majority of the print run. It's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. That has affected I think the value, because I think that's why mint copies are going so high, because it's hard to find a mint copy. But again, shout out to our sponsor, Nick from Slabbed Heroes, who posted on Instagram some shots of how he was able to press out his Canto issues. So it does seem like a good presser can do some work with Canto. May not be 9/8, but can make them very, very respectable near mint copies for eBay. So, this is definitely a book. Like I said, pressers are going to make some money. Make sure if you're grabbing this book, you get in touch with your local presser. But we're seeing far less damages, it looks like, on the incentives. It seems like the incentives came off a little better. So I also think that has attributed to some of the success. But this is a book, again, I'm very bullish long term. I think it's a movie waiting to happen. I think it's going to be an amazing read. And I think more and more, as people see this book, their initial reaction is, oh, this is stupid. Why is this selling for so much? Must be a pump and dump. But over time, I think people will see that this book is legit, that these creators are genuine, and that this is a monster in the making. So shout out to David Boer. Shout out to Drew Zucker. Congratulations, fellas. There's not two nicer guys to see have success. And they're absolutely ecstatic. If you would follow Canto Comic on Instagram, they just started an Instagram account for the book. So check that out. Get caught up on the world of Canto. And be on the lookout. They've already announced a second print for number 1 with new cover art.
That's a gorgeous cover.
It's absolutely gorgeous. And I think that book has a chance to pop more than most second prints because of the inability for most people to get their hands on a mint copy of the first print.
Yeah.
So
and I think they have a San Diego Comic-Con variant too, right?
Oh, yeah. And I think that one's going to be one of the highlights of San Diego Comic-Con.
So I will say, if you haven't and you'd like to watch the interview that we had with David Boer and Drew Zucker, the link to that is in the description of this video, as well as on Simpleman's Comics YouTube channel. But wait, there's more. We have a second long-term play this week, and that is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 40, right? You kind of talked about it early in the show, but we saved the best part for right now. So what do you got to say about this one, Jack?
So this one, if there's a naysayer out there, they would say, well, it's not really popping yet on the secondary market. You're right. But I think there's a reason for that. Speculators can only spend their money so many places. And it seems like Marvel Comics Presents 6 and Canto were the two places that speculators drove to. But one thing I'm noticing from almost every haul picture, this book is included. Again, Necessary Evil kicks off their big year-end story. This is the story for Power Rangers this year. They have a new writer taking over the helm, Ryan Parrott, who writes Go-Go Power Rangers. You're going to see some synergy with Go-Go Power Rangers. So also, don't overlook the Go-Go Power Rangers series and the upcoming releases there. We see the first appearance of a new team. It's too early to tell yet where this is going to go, and definitely this was on more people's radar than Power Rangers 25, which is the first book in Shattered Grid. So that book sold out. But if you've gotten a chance to see this foil variant in person, that Mercado helmet foil variant, it is gorgeous. The cardstock variant really stunned me when I got that in the mail to really kind of like look at that in person. There's also the variant that you can see with that looks like a trading card, that is what it is. It's a trading card variant. It's by Chris Anka, who's known for a lot of Marvel variants. It's pretty cool because it's actually the back of the book actually has kind of like the back of a trading card. And that's going to be an initiative going forward. There's going to be trading card variants throughout this series, 1 in 25s. There will also be those foils for issues 40 through 49. Keep an eye out for that. I think those sets are going to do pretty nicely. They've already solicited a few more going forward. I think there's the Red Ranger for 41, Pink for 42. So that's something to keep an eye out for. But this book also slipped in at the last second a 1 in 50 Jamal Campbell incentive. And that book is doing well. Now, again, they're going for slightly below ratio, but a lot of Boom variants get sold by retailers below ratio. So they're still kind of at their initial selling cost or a little bit more. But the point of this segment is to talk about long-term plays. And I really like this as a long-term play. Again, follow the money. Boom is behind this book. There are some amazing retailer exclusive variants that were created. There's an ASM 300 homage. There's a Superman 233 homage. There's some amazing Scorpion Comics Clayton Crane variants. It seems like retailers saw this one coming. I think Boom did a great job marketing this book to retailers. And that has maybe slowed down the secondary market sales, but that's fine because you have opportunities to buy right now. So be on the lookout for this one. You can already see some of those retailer exclusive variants like the Crane Crane one, excuse me. You know, we butcher names here on the Simpleman's Comics YouTube channel, and it doesn't get easier than Clayton Crane. But yeah, so the Clayton Crane variant is doing like $65 on eBay. So that's something to keep an eye out for. And that variant that's next to the cover A, where you kind of see the word bubbles, that was a like last second FOC variant. A lot of people didn't order that. I personally didn't order it. It kind of went under my radar. So that one is one to kind of keep an eye out for. Not necessarily the most attractive. Marvel hasn't done well with those like interior page covers. But I think it'll be very, very low printed. And again, Power Rangers was purchased from Saban by Hasbro. They're looking to develop this world, make it more accessible to a larger community. And I am really bullish on Power Rangers as a property. I think it's going to be big in the future for movies. I think Lord Draken is here to stay. And I think that, bringing back the White Ranger, introducing a new Power Rangers team is going to be just the beginning of a storyline that's going to excite Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fans. And hopefully we'll grab a few of you who haven't yet jumped on board with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But if you're a longtime speculator who likes these kinds of plays, I know Gary Nusser mentioned it on the BOLO comment. Shout out to Gary Nusser, excellent speculator from the Comic Book Deconspective. He mentioned in a comment on the BOLO article on comicbookinvest.com that, he's been making money for years on Power Rangers first appearances, whether it's the Ranger Slayer or Draken or different variants and homages. So Power Rangers variants, I think, and Power Rangers is here to stay. Be on the lookout for it. Make sure you grab these from your LCS. This is one I think is going to pop over the next couple months.
Gotcha. I'll open the chat again. But we have Ben Stein in the chat with us. If you guys don't know who Ben Stein is, if you read the CBSI Hot 10 list on the comicbookinvest.com, he is the author and the creator of that list. He does that by himself each and every week, so huge kudos to him. He takes a bunch of flack for it, but he gets a bunch of accolades for it as well. Accolades are deserved. The flack, I wouldn't say so much because everyone's going to have an opinion, but I want to give a big shout out to Ben Stein. Also, he is part of the Tales from the Flip Side podcast. You hear a lot of times, hey, what's a good comic book podcast to listen to? Tales from the Flip Side. They're on iTunes. They're live every Monday night at 9:30 on YouTube. Just search CBSI Presents Tales from the Flip Side. I was on it. I've kind of been busy. Haven't been able to get back on it. I had soccer going on. But definitely a great comic book podcast. Great group of guys. Check them out. And like I said, kudos to Stein because he also just tipped me to a Paul Green Secret Vampirella variant that I now have to find because I'm a huge Paul Green fan. So thanks for that. And
Yeah. Shout out to Stein. He's an absolute specs. He's a specs superstar.
Yes.
I keep trying to tell people, I don't think people have yet to appreciate what he does. Like, all of us who are here and we talk about content, we get a lot of credit. But Ben creates and Topher creates, these guys, they amaze me on a regular basis. It's the easy as hell for me to market them.
Right. Yeah, I would just wish I had one or two of the comic book hauls that Ben Stein usually ends up showing. And
oh my god! Again, yeah, check out Tales from the Flip Side. There's an episode where Ben shows an epic variant haul.
Right. He even has on their YouTube channel, the Tales from the Flip Side channel. He has a separate piece of content with one of his haul videos, and
that's right.
You're just it'll make you crap your pants. But
yeah, he's about as knowledgeable in variants as it gets.
Right. And nicest guy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely nicest guy.
Yeah. And shout out Joe Seaborn in the chat. The comic book Tooth Doctor. But so there's the long-term play, right? So I want to thank everyone. That's the BOLO list. We cover first appearances, we cover reader buzz, we cover variant buzz, and then Jack gave 2 fantastic long-term plays. Kanto, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 40. Also, as well as the Kanto interview link, we put a link in the description of this video. It's also on the Simpleman Comics YouTube channel, where we had just the portion talking to Arun from Boom Studios about Power Rangers, where the storyline's going, what Boom plans to do with it. So definitely check that out if you're interested in more Power Rangers news. And I'm sure we got more coming up with the future video with Arun that we're supposed to record it last night, right? But we're gonna record it tomorrow night. Arun got a little sick, but so looking forward to that. And I do want to bring up one more time also on comicbookinvest.com's website tonight. It went live right when this show went live. An exclusive Virgin variant of our Knights of the Golden Sun #1 variant, right?
Right. Limited to 100 copies. Only 80 available to the public. Guys, this will be the most limited Knights of the Golden Sun book released. This is probably the most limited Mad Cave book that's been released. It's the most limited book we've released at comicbookinvest.com. And we wanted to create a unique collectible for you guys, and you guys get the shot at it first. So I hope all of you guys in the chat have had the opportunity to jump on this book. Again, comicbookinvest.com, hit that variants tab and check it out because, we want to keep creating things for you guys like this that are unique. And I will also mention, I called him Oscar Villarreal.
Yeah, Mauricio.
Mauricio Villarreal. I don't know why I did that. I caught that afterwards, but
I was letting it slide. Maybe people didn't notice.
Yeah.
You're gonna get comments for that one, Jack.
Yeah. So I want to correct myself on that because he's the man. He's delivered for us on 2 different variants, and I'm proud to be able to showcase this artwork again. I can't wait to hang it on my back wall next to the trade dress version. So I hope you guys, all of you guys out there who have been able to grab that trade dress variant are able to grab that Virgin variant. I want you guys out here in Simpleman's Comics family to get the first opportunity at this. I want you guys to get it before the general public eats it up. This book will sell out.
Right. So it popped in the chat now. It's going to show up on the screen in just a second. But I want to take the time to say thank you to Carolina Chris for the $10 super chat just now. Really appreciate it. And also, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, there are still limited numbers of the BOLO box. We have a couple premium, couple regular BOLO boxes. Patreon.com/Simpleman's Comics. If you're interested in that, check it out. A bunch of great books. We're going to have more great books as we go along. But like I said, these are boxes. We put the comics in it that we would like to get if we were having a mystery box, especially at that price point. So definitely
we want to load you guys up, and we're listening to you guys in the comments about what you're looking for, what you're buying, things like that. I'm trying to pay attention to that as I think about what we curate these boxes with. this is definitely something that we're paying attention to. And shout out to Carolina Chris 26, who just did that, who did the super chat. I appreciate the kind words. I had a chance to meet Chris at Heroes Con. Was really excited to get to do that, man. Good dude. I wish I could have spent more time with him. I think we were both ripping and running in different directions, but looking forward to catching up with him at a future convention. He's my Carolina brethren up in North Carolina. So shout out to Chris. Appreciate you guys, and appreciate everybody in the Simpleman's Comics family.
Right. Yeah. He's up there in good old Fort Bragg area, old Fayetteville.
Yeah. Vietnam.
I relate it to, for me, Fayetteville is like the Army armpit. No disrespect to people from Fayetteville, but me coming up in the Marine Corps, we had Camp Lejeune. So Jacksonville, North Carolina is pretty much the same. Similar experience. My brother was stationed at Fort Bragg for a while, so I got to go there quite a lot. But one last thing also before I give you the last words, Jack, we do want to say that this show tonight, we did dedicate this show to Jack. I call him Papa Bolo, but this is for Jack's father. He's not doing so well with cancer right now, so we dedicated this show to him tonight. If you saw it at the beginning, it was quite emotional. So if you watched it on the replay, be prepared for a emotional beginning. But dedicate this, and Jack, you close us out, buddy.
Yeah, I just want to say, guys, thank you for all of you who kind of bared with me through that. Everybody in the chat was so kind. I didn't know how that would come off, and it was something I wanted to do. I reached out to Brian and told him that I wanted to do it, and I didn't know if I'd be able to get through it, and I was glad I was able to do it. I'm sorry if I rambled, but I appreciate you guys giving me that forum. I appreciate that support. Again, I want to say I love you, Dad. I dedicate this show to my father, Bruce. And the last thing I would just say to you guys, man, if you got parents, call your parents.
Yep.
Tell them you love them. We all get to a certain age. I'm 33 years old. Where you start to realize, and this is a conversation that Brian and I just had this week, is you start to realize that maybe you're on borrowed time with the people that you love. And comics are great. This stuff is awesome, but family matters. And as you can see from my dad in the picture, he always supported CBSI. He supported Simpleman's Comics. Big fan of what we did here and what we do here. And I want to say again, thank you guys for listening to me. Thank you, Brian, for giving me the platform to do it. It means a lot to me. And again, thank you, Dad, for telling me that this wasn't crazy, wanting to get on a microphone every week and go live and talk about it. And thank you for watching the show, even though you told me sometimes I was boring. I appreciate it so much, and more than I think he'll ever know. But again, thank you guys. We call you guys Simpleman's Comics family for a reason. You guys have brought me up every week, and I'm sure continue to do so. Thank you.
Right. I will always remember I posted the Bolo thing. We're going live tonight on Facebook, and he was just like, I can't read typed words, so it's just my voice in my head, but it was just like, I can't share it.
Yeah, and that's probably exactly how he was. My dad is one of those, he's the typical older guy where he got into Facebook real hardcore, but he doesn't know what he's doing. And he was panicking because the post wasn't public, and he wanted to share it with his friends and family, which means the world to me. He was so proud. So that'll always be a funny memory.
Yeah, my dad's the same way. He shares it with all family in Nebraska, and they're all like, we don't care about comics, but.
Yeah.
So, and with that, that's going to be our show for tonight, guys. I do want to thank Preaching Comics. He just did a $5 super chat for Bruce. So, you know what? I tell you what I'm going to do also. We had a couple super chats here tonight. I'm going to take that. I'm going to double it, and we're going to put it towards the GoFundMe that you have going on for. I'm add a little bit more to it, and we're gonna do a little GoFundMe contribution from Simpleman's Comics family to your dad. So
thank you so much. Yeah, I will let you guys know. Yeah, my father didn't have health insurance and or life insurance, and we're gonna have to figure out how to pay for funeral expenses, which is tight with my family right now, with 2 young brothers in college and 2 children for myself. So we do have a GoFundMe. GoFundMe.com. Bruce, look for Bruce DeMeo. Brian and I will talk about how we put the links out there. But I'm not putting pressure on anybody. I just, I appreciate it. I just want to put that out there. And we appreciate all the support of everybody. Means a lot.
And with that, we will see you guys during the premiere of Hot and Cold on Wednesday night, right?
Yeah, yeah.
One other thing we kind of want to mention that we're gonna do a series of videos coming up here from comicbookinvest.com as well, right?
Oh yeah.
If you guys are on comicbookinvest.com, you notice that they're putting out the top 100 variants. They're coming out in sets of 25, I believe. We're going to do those in a video series. We're going to probably do sets of 10, though, right? Just so we can discuss them more. So
we're looking for 10 episodes, 10 variants per episode. We're going to break down the top 100 variants on the secondary market right now. It's going to be comprehensive. It's incredible. It comes directly from CBSI owner Ben C. Shout out to Ben C. Golden Age expert, stepping into the world of variants. Delving in a deep dive and really killing it. If you've been reading the list is awesome. And we're excited to bring it to the channel, make it visual, and Brian and I kind of talk about what books may have some legroom to go forward, what books may drop, what books are drying up. So really excited for that video series. I think you guys are really going to like it.
Right. And if you liked Mike Morello's Jenny Freeson video interview, Clayton Crane interview, we got a bunch more HeroesCon content coming from.
Yep.
Soon as Jack gets that carrier pigeon with the little thumb drive, he's going to send a Raven, and we're going to get that stuff edited up and put on the channel as well. But with that being said,
Definitely.
Really appreciate everyone each and every week watching this show, putting in the chat. Thank the super chats. Before you leave out of here, if you haven't done so, please click that thumbs up button. And if this is your first time here, consider subscribing and click that bell notification so you always be notified when a new video drops on this channel. Jack, anything else?
That's it, man. Like I said, thank you guys for the platform, and call your parents, hug your parents. If your parents aren't around, hug your kids. Love your family tonight.
All right. Thanks again, guys, and we will see you next week.